Hello and welcome to another episode of the Royals Review podcast. I'm your host, Dan Worth, joined by my good friend, Jimmy, on the back of a 1-0 victory over Wycombe at the Select Car Leasing Stadium on Saturday in the sun with a bumper crowd. What a great day at the Medeski Gym. How did you get on with it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, mate, it was quality. Sun's out, tunes were playing outside the front on the purple turtle stage. Couple beers in beforehand. It was great, wasn't it? Like the atmosphere, like outside the stadium was, it was like a nice build up for the match, don't you think?
Yes, yeah, I do. I wasn't expecting you to come back to me that quickly. I need to get better at the full screening, but yeah, it's perfect. Like I'm not a huge fan of early kickoffs, just generally because I like to have a little bit more time to grab a drink and sort of chill into the game. But the sun was out nice and early. We managed to get there at a decent time, although it did mean a very early train for me. But look, there's not that many reasons to complain, particularly after the result. And as you say, yeah, Purple Turtle stage, nice bit of live music. I didn't catch the guys' names, but they were quite chilled, quite nice. A Heineken or two, like yeah, it's all right, isn't it? Like could be a lot worse.
Yeah, man, I loved it.
But the best thing of it all was that Reading got the 3 points in a game that, maybe we weren't expected to, given that Wycombe are above us in the league. And I mean, anyone that was there and has watched the game at half time, I certainly wasn't expecting us to go on and win the game and get all 3 points. And I guess that's where I wanted to start, really. Like, this is a proper cliche and one that I don't even particularly like, but it really felt like a game of two halves to me because I thought Reading were terrible in the first half. What did you think?
Yeah, I fully agree. Yeah, like you said, first half was terrible. Couldn't really get out of first gear. We were just causing ourselves issues, really, with stupid mistakes and not really adapting well to sort of overcome those problems. Like we literally couldn't get past Wycombe's midfield. I think they had, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we counted 3 or 4 corners in the first 15 minutes, and it really felt like we were going to be on the end of a smashing. Really, weren't similar to what happened with Blackpool. Garcia was poor, and we seemed to just be sending everything his way, always going down that wing instead of the other wing. But yeah, somehow got to half time at 0-0 and really switched it on the second half. Much the better team, basically switched with Wycombe. They were nowhere near as good as they were in the first half. But I still don't think we really created too much. Then subs were introduced, Wareham was on, that was positive. And we were blessed with a pen in the 75th minute, I think it was, which, of course, Knibbsy smashes home. Probably the only correct decision the ref made all game, might I add, but we won't talk too much about the officiating. And then, yeah, we saw the game out well. 3 massive points. You could see what it meant to the players and the staff and, of course, the fans.
Yeah, I'm completely with you. Like, I actually watched their manager's post-match interview and he was saying how it was never a penalty and they completely dominated and like it was super unjust. And because they had a nightmare in the week, so didn't they, where they had like 100 shots and couldn't score.
Mm-hmm.
I can't see how anyone looks at that penalty and thinks it's not a Stonewall penalty. Like, I've watched it over and over again, even with no bias whatsoever. Campbell just gets the complete better of his man, and I don't know why the guy dives in, but he doesn't get anywhere near the ball, and it's a Stonewall pen. But as you say, the ref was, I think, poor at best, to be honest. But it's kind of getting to that point of the season now where I just sound like a broken record saying that, the referee is terrible again. But they just can't seem to get any consistency, which is really, really frustrating as a football fan. Yeah, positively, there were a few big performances. Like the who scored man of the match was Joel Pereira. He's the goalkeeper of the week. He's in the team of the week from Who Scored and the EFL. I mean, we've spoken about him probably too many times on here, just talking about how important he is and how good he is. But I think, given that we had our 2 starting centre-backs back in action, Bindon and Amadou Mbengue, we just look so good at the back. And they're coming up against Kone, who's the top scorer in the league. I'd probably argue the best striker in the league. And I thought they kept him to very little. I don't know what you thought about that battle.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I thought they dealt with Coney really well. I also felt like he could have had a better game. He wasn't really. I feel like he was a bit more interested in just like scrapping with the centre backs rather than like playing his game. Because you saw when he did have the ball at his feet or when he was in possession, he did look quite dangerous. But yeah, I mean, I've not really been paying too much attention on Wycombe for obvious reasons over the last few weeks. But I know, things haven't really been going their way in front of goal, and they seem to have sort of dropped off a little bit. And yeah, I guess that was, displayed on Saturday when we played them. So yeah, I was a bit. Yeah, we had Mbengue and Binden back. I was a bit worried seeing that Coney was playing because I think when we played them last time he was injured or something, so we didn't really see him for the full 90 minutes. I don't think. But yeah, they dealt with him really well, especially on a day where I think as a back four we could have done a lot better. But look, we kept a clean sheet, dealt with the hardest one of the hardest strikers to come up against in the league, and Pereira's in the team of the week. What more do you want?
Yeah, absolutely. You touched on it a little bit in your analysis, but one thing I wanted to bring up was Andre Garcia's performance in the first half. Now, I don't really want to pile on a young boy and talk about him overly negatively, but I think Wycombe found out early on that is quite a weak point for Reading at the moment, and reach was being played through time and time again, and Garcia was really getting targeted, which you know what is going to happen when you've got a young guy there that the other team are gonna put two on him and target him. But they were having quite a lot of success there, and it was a little bit of a worry for me in the first half that if that continued throughout, we were really open to getting a bit of a battering there. But it did kind of sort of slow down as the game grew on. But I think the first sort of like 25, 30 minutes, it was a bit of a bloodbath for the young boy. He didn't make a single tackle in the game. He was dispossessed. I don't think he won a header. Oh, he won one header, 20% of his attempted headers. So it really was a bit of a grim experience for him. But as I say, he's super young and will obviously learn from those kind of experiences. But I think that is something that Reading and Reading fans will need to keep in mind. If we are to get to the playoffs, we can expect teams to really target Garcia there. And look, we might have some injuries come back, and maybe he doesn't play. Who knows? But that does slightly worry me a little bit, just purely based on what I saw in the first half last week. Have you got anything positive you could say about Garcia so that I don't feel bad about spending 5 minutes?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just one of those games, really. Like he was coming up against Reach, who is a lot taller than him, pretty much twice his age. So a very experienced player in the league. But also Kamara is on the wing, and he's not. You don't really. If you had to pick between him and Kelvin to track back and help you out, you're picking Kelvin all day. He's much bigger, much stronger, much faster. And I just think it was a bit of a mismatch in general along that whole wing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was rightly targeted, and there were issues. But yeah, I mean, I guess at the end of the day, they didn't concede. Reading dealt with all the pressure that was coming down that side. So I guess that is the positive. And I think you could see just with Garcia's body language, like he was pretty pissed off in sort of how his game was going.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it's one of them things. Like he just had a bad game. We've seen him play fantastic games. So yeah, I'm not going to look into it too much. Like you said, I think they're aware from previous games as well that teams are going to target that area of the pitch. And yeah, I mean, I think they dealt with it quite well, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think you made the key point there. If Kelvin's playing on that left side, he gets way more protection. And obviously Kelvin is a lot taller and can win a few of the aerial duels for him. Yeah. But in that absence, he is a little bit he's left a little bit open, and that's sort of what we saw on Saturday. But look, I mean, nothing came from it, so there's not really any need to dwell on that too much.
Yeah.
I just thought it's worth bringing up for the future.
Mm-hmm.
Now, someone who is worth bringing up is our goal scorer once again, Harvey Knibbs. He just doesn't miss from the spot, does he? I think that's 7 from 7 now from the penalty spot. I think he's got the best record of any Reading player of all time, which, yeah, I mean, fair play. He's bagged them all in. I thought he was going to go left again like he had done, which is very lucky he didn't, because that's the way the keeper went. And he must have got on his head a little bit and just smashed it into the right side. I mean, we've covered this off loads, but probably worth asking you again, Jim, like, how important do you think Harvey Knibbs is to this Reading side?
Oh, hugely important. He's probably the most important player. Yeah, say no more. I think he's, first on the team sheet. Such a massive player for us. Huge influence on the pitch. He's a leader on the pitch. I think he's fundamental to the success of our team at the moment.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. And I love the fact that although he's not playing as a forward, he's chipping in with goals. Because my big worry when Smith left in January was that Reading would struggle to score goals. And we haven't really. I think he scored more goals than Smith since Smith went to Wrexham. And he's just so dependable. And I think that's why I love him so much. I mean, I know he scored a lot of penalties, so we can't really sit here and say like, oh, he's an amazing striker or anything like that. But I think there's only 2 players. I tweeted this earlier, so I should know. There's only 2 players that have scored more goals than Harvey Knibbs in 2025 in League One. And I think that just goes to show how important he is. And he sort of bears the weight of Reading fans and provides in those big moments. And I think that's such a good quality at any level, really, but particularly when it can get quite gritty down in League One, for him to just come up clutch all the time. And obviously, you see him coming up with the goals, but also like tracking back, makes loads of tackles. I just love him to bits. Plays with so much. It seems to be everywhere. I just think he's a fantastic player, and I think we're very, very, very lucky to have him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think our whole midfield 3, Knibbs, Savage, and Wing, are all having really good seasons. I know, obviously, people are a bit mixed on how Wing's been before. Well, I don't think they're mixed. I just think that people are expecting him to perform better than he is. But we've got 24 goals from midfield. Those 3 players have scored 24 goals between them this season, and I think that's a really, really, really good return from your midfielders.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just looking at some of the questions on the TikTok live that we've got going. Somebody said Garcia should be a winger and not a fullback now. I think we have discussed this again, but maybe worth a quick minute on that, given that we've almost exhausted the Wycombe chat. I agree. I think he is probably better suited as a winger and doesn't really have that option at the moment in the first team because he's been chucked in at the deep end here. What do you reckon, Jim? I think on the whole he's been good at fullback, right? But yeah.
I mean, I think it was raised sort of earlier in the season that Garcia is so raw as a player. No one really knows what his best position is, whether it's like a winger, a wing back, or a fullback. And I think we've seen him play 2 of those roles at least this season. And he's not done terrible at either, really, given his age and how inexperienced he is. If I had to pick a position for him to play, just given on where he is at the moment, it'd probably be as a wing back. I don't think he's going to pop up with the goals that I would want to see from a winger. But I think he's really, really good at just sort of progressing forward down that wing with the ball at his feet and linking up with wingers and linking up with whether it's a central midfielder or a centre back. I think that's where his strengths are at the moment. So I'd have him as a wing back. Unfortunately, we don't play a formation where we need a wing back. So playing him at fullback probably is the best idea at the moment, really. Yeah,
I agree. Before we move on to Shrewsbury, then let's have a quick chat about the forward situation at Reading. Jayden Wareham on the bench to start against Wycombe, but when he came on, I'm always very impressed by him. So it's kind of boring for me to just sit here and say, I was very impressed by Jayden Wareham when he came on. But God, he looks like he's been playing in this league for years, I think. Doesn't look like the youngster that's not made loads of starts at this level. I think he looks so assured. And I mean, I know he probably doesn't deserve too much credit for the way he handled the penalty, because I know he's probably just had that chat with Harvey Knibbs. But like, I absolutely fucking love that. Like him getting involved in the shithousery. And to be honest, when I thought he was going to take it, and I had absolutely no doubts he was going to bury it, but then even just to switch it over, I just like, oh, I absolutely love it. Anything to say about Wareham and the impact he had on Saturday?
Yeah, I agree. It's funny as well because I was listening back to some of the commentary on Radio Berkshire, and all the guys on there hated what he did, but then everyone that I've been speaking to loved what he did. I don't know, maybe it's a generational thing, but yeah, it was good. Obviously, it takes a lot of pressure off the player who's actually gonna take the penalty. And look, Harvey smacked it in and got us 3 points. So in my mind, that's a good decision from Wareham. But yeah, I thought his introduction was fantastic. He seems to just be able to like hit the ground running as soon as he comes on. There's no like, he's going to need 15 minutes to sort of settle into the game. Like his first touch is perfect. He did some little like his first touch when he came on was some little flick, and I was just like, oh, that's the first time you've touched the ball since you come on, and you're already just pulling stuff off like that. Like he's a great player, and I know we've spoken about how much potential he's got, and can he fill the boots of Sam Smith? And I know he's not popped up with the goals yet, and he's not sort of starting and playing 90 minutes. But he's just looking better and better each game. And I like the fact that he's been coming off the bench. It's good that Noel seems to be sort of managing the play as well, in terms of how many minutes they're getting. You know, if we get an injury to a player like Wareham at this point of the season, it's going to have a big impact. So overall, really impressed with Wareham, and I thought it was another good appearance in the weekend.
Yeah, me too. I just think there's so much to like about him. I really do. Like, he's another player that gives everything, not scared of anyone. Like gets involved in all of the sort of argy-bargy, and he's clearly a key player in the change room as well, because you can see at the end of the game, like all of the players absolutely love him. I mean, the morale in the squad at the moment just seems awesome anyway, but he's a proper integral part of that. So yeah, I really like the guy, and I'm with you. I think the potential he's got is really, really, really high. That said, I hope he stays at Reading for a long while, but I can see him playing a lot higher than League One in the not so distant future, is what I meant to say. Right then, let's have a quick chat about Shrewsbury. Obviously, tomorrow night they are rock bottom.
Yeah,
I think they're 11 without a win. Oh, that usually means they get the better of us, doesn't it, when we play those kind of teams?
Yeah, well, as my result, I put 2-1 to Reading. So yeah, I do think they'll score, and they'll be in the game somewhat. But yeah, I mean, they're bottom. But I think the pressure is kind of on Reading now. Really, we were chatting, weren't we, on the weekend? We've kind of navigated through that really tough part. I guess from when we played Birmingham, it was like was that 8 games ago now, maybe? But we were looking ahead, or maybe even 10. I don't even know. But we were looking ahead to this point of the season when we get past our final sort of big game, which was Wycombe. But now the pressure's on. Now these are the games where we're expecting to pick up points, 3 points ideally, and like solidify that spot in the playoffs. And I think just looking at the other teams that are around us at the moment, and the teams that are likely to be sort of pushing for that final playoff place as well, we just really need to find a way to start scoring more. And I think that has to come from Kamara, Kelvin, and Campbell. They've got to step up their game now and start producing a bit more. I think we're well below average in terms of like productivity from the wings compared to some of the other teams that are around us. I mean, if you look at our goal difference and our XG, it's not great compared to other teams in the playoffs who seem to be sort of like scoring. They're much more free scoring. So I think we've really just got to start like building a bit of confidence and trying to get a few more goals that aren't coming from either Savage, Savage or Knibbs. They seem to be the two that have been scoring a fair bit for us recently. I mean, I know we're pretty good at winning by small margins and grinding out results, but if we go 2-0 down or 3-0 down, there's not even a glimmer of hope at the moment. So it'd be good to start seeing some goals come sort of more freely from the wing. But I'm hoping it's 3 points against Shrewsbury, 2-1, like I said. What about you? What do you think's going to happen?
I think Reading win. But I think it's going to be another game where.
What you think Shrewsbury win?
No, I think Reading win.
Oh, okay. I think
Reading
win.
Probably win 2-0.
Okay, yeah.
But I think obviously Shrewsbury are going to make it hard for us. And we go into this game, which we haven't often this season, as the favourites. And that obviously brings pressure and, I don't know, like a bit of expectation, which we haven't really had at all this season. And to be honest, I think we've benefited from. I think Reading play much better as underdogs because we have that underdog spirit and fight and passion and all of those good things. And I'm not saying we don't have that when we're favourites, but it is a completely different challenge. Like, everyone is aware that Shrewsbury are in big trouble and they're right down the bottom and it doesn't really look like they've got that much hope left this season.
Yeah.
But we absolutely should be beating them. So that brings pressure because the players know, like, well, we have to be winning these games if we're going to be getting in the playoffs. So it just sort of taps into a different part of your brain, doesn't it? But look, I think the team, every time I ask the team, it sounds like I speak to them personally, I wish. But every time I sort of ask the team like to do a bit more, they do. Like Wycombe, I didn't really expect to beat Wycombe. And at half time, I was like, well, we got no chance here. If we get a draw, that'll be an amazing result. And then they come out the second half, much better team. They look great. And I'm like, where do they keep finding from? Like, they literally do keep finding. And I don't know whether that's Noel Hunt, like what Noel Hunt said at half time, or I just think the team is so passionate and so driven that they can achieve anything. And I feel positive about Shrewsbury. I'm going to go with 2-0.
2-0, yeah, fair enough. I mean, I think, you're right. Like, the team, you could see how much it meant after beating Wycombe. Part of me thinks that they know that was, it's a little bit easier now with the teams that we're going to be coming up against. But at the same time, I feel like they're treating every game as a cup final. Like, it would be, for them, it would be so frustrating to be where we are right now and then kind of throw it against the teams that we've got coming up, that we're coming up against over the next few weeks. Obviously, some of them are a lot more difficult, but like, for example, tomorrow against Shrewsbury, if we put all of that work in and get a result against Wycombe and then end up losing, or even, to be fair, even drawing at this point of the season against Shrewsbury, it's points lost. It's points lost, and then we're going to have to, it will just become harder and harder and harder as the season goes on. So I think now is the time to just start up in the pressure on the teams that are around us and just turn those results into wins and get that playoff spot sorted. And I do think we can get it. I do think our run is ever so slightly more favourable than Bolton's. But yeah, we'll have to see how it all goes.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I think, like, when you look at the players on the pitch, when you listen to their post-match interviews, when you even see them on social media, like, the belief is there. I believe, they clearly believe, Noel believes, like, let's just go and achieve it now. And they've played so well. Like, sometimes I have to check myself a little bit because I'm like, right, we should be getting in the playoffs now. And I'm like, hang on. 6 months ago, I was saying, right, we need to be avoiding relegation here. We need to, and like, everyone was saying, right, it's Project 50. We've got to get 50 points. We've got to get 50 points. I don't have the table in front of me. I think we've got 65 points with 8 games to play. Like, these players have just been absolutely incredible this season. Like, if we get the playoffs, it is an absolute miracle, and these players will be club legends forever because they have pulled up trees and they deserve all the credit. But now, if they want to become those club legends, games like Shrewsbury on tomorrow is must win, and we have to win that, and we have to get to the playoffs for that to happen.
Yeah.
And I think we do it. I think we beat Shrewsbury. I think we go all the way. I think me and you might be looking at cancelling our flights to Portugal, mate, so we can go to the semis.
We'll see. We'll see. Let's get there first.
Yeah, let's get there first.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this is a perfect time now for those players that have not really been performing. Like I mentioned, Kelvin, Kamara, Campbell. This is the time now. Like, if you're gonna prove your worth and, like you said, become a club legend, baby. Now's the time to sort of up your game and put the pressure on. But yeah, it's gonna look. I feel like no one would have really expected to be where we are right now. Obviously, we're safe from relegation. I think that's probably top of most people's minds.
Mm-hmm.
We actually have something to look forward to. Like, we could be going to the playoffs. And I think with all the shit that's gone on this year, like, that's a fantastic achievement. So yeah, hopefully they can push on. Hopefully they can get that spot in the playoffs, and then we'll just see what happens there.
Yeah, absolutely right. We rambled on for probably a little bit too long now. I'm very excited for the game tomorrow. I love it when I'm excited for Reading games because there's been a little while, not so much recently, but over the last few years where I haven't really been. So that's a great feeling. Hopefully we can go and get the win against Shrewsbury. Thanks very much to everyone who has been listening, watching. Thanks to the guys on TikTok Live as well. If you've enjoyed this, let us know. Give us a follow, retweet, follow. You know, all the stuff. Jim, cheers for joining me, mate. I'll catch up with you tomorrow after we've beaten Shrewsbury. Until then, come on, you.
Cool. Catch you later, man.
See you, bud.